Hello everyone, and welcome to a quick lesson about squares, basically. So, have you ever noticed when you're talking about exponents and you say 3 to the second power or 4 to the second power, you don't say 3 to the second power or 4 to the second power, you say 3 squared, or you say 4 squared. Well, this is why. When you think about them, think about squares. That's why we call them squared, because there's a relationship to squares. Let's break it down. So, when you're talking about squares, and you're talking about trying to find the area of squares, there's a very simple formula. Length times width. L times W. Length times width. You take the length, multiply times the width. That's all there is. So, let's take this square for example. Yeah? It has a length of 6, and it has a width of 6. That's what makes squares special. Their length and their width is always the same. Yeah? When you think about rectangles have different lengths. So you can have 4 times 8, and that's how you multiply these two to find the area of a rectangle. But a square is a special shape where all of its sides are going to be the same value. Its length and its width are the same number. Yeah? So when you're trying to find the area of a square, you grab the length, 6, and you multiply it times the width, 6, and that's 36. Yeah? 6 times 6. That's why we call raising something to the second power squaring it. Because think about it. When you're given 6 to the second power, all that basically is 6 times itself, 2 times. 6 squared. When you're trying to find the area of the square, it's just 6 times 6. Your area is 36. 6 squared is 36. It's really, really easy. It's just whenever you get a question like this, think about it as a square, and you're just trying to find the area of that square. That's all there is to it. This, for example, you don't know what the side lengths are. You know they're x, but this is going to be x times x. This is going to be x squared. That's your area. Yeah? So let's say instead of saying the side values are x, let's say this is 12 by 12. Again, both the sides are the same because it's a square. Now, if you want to find what 12 squared is, it's just finding the area of a square. 12 times 12, 144. So 12 squared is 144. That's it. That's all there is to it. Here you have a few problems. So the problems are basically 5 squared equals what? 11 squared equals what? 7 squared equals what? 9 squared equals what? I encourage you to pause the video and try to solve this on your own. Okay, so now let's get to it. So, for each one of these, let's call this example A, B, C, and D. So for example A, 5 squared, well, you could just do it here. 5 squared is 5 times itself twice, so that's 5 times 5, and that is 25. So A equals 25. Or you could just think about it as a square. 5 times 5, 25. Boom. That's the area of your square. That's your answer. For B, same thing. Well, it's a square. 11 times 11, 121. So boom. That's your answer. 11 squared is 121. For C, 7 squared. Find the area of the square. That's 49. So 7 squared is 49. Done. And the last one, J. 9 squared, that's going to be 9 times 9. Well, 9 times 9 is 81, so J is 81. Boom, super easy. Sometimes you might be asked to work backwards. So you might be told, hey, m squared is 64. What's m? Well, if you look back to the square on the left-hand side, you know that the area is 64. But you're like, what number multiplied times itself gives me 64? So let's try it out. Let's say I go 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. That's way too low. Let's try something else. Since 3 was too small, let's try 6. 6 times 6? No, that's 36. Too small. 7 times 7. Okay, this might be bigger. 7 times 7 is 49. Still too small. Okay, let's try another one. 8 times 8. Well, 8 times 8. Yes, 8 times 8 is 64. So m squared, 8 squared equals 64. M is 8. The side of one of the sides of this square is 8. That's your answer. Yeah? let's look at example B. And if you want, pause the video. I encourage you to try example B on your own. So if we look at example B, you're looking for one number multiplied times itself twice. That gives you 400. Well, I know this isn't within the 12 times tables, but I do know that 2 times 2 is 4. And I know that 2 squared is 4 for that reason. Well, how about instead of 2 squared, let's say I do 20 times 20. 20 times 20 is 400. Oh, look at that. So 20 squared equals 400. So 20 squared equals 400. The n in this case is 20. Each one of these lengths, each one of the n's is 20. There, that's your final answer. So anytime you are dealing with having to square something, if it helps, I encourage you to go ahead and try to think of it as a square, that you're trying to find the area for. 3 times 3, 9. Woo! 4 squared is just 4 times 4. Oh, look, 16. Done. Easy peasy.